The narrative begins by presenting a meteorite that fell to Earth thousands of years ago, specifically somewhere in Scotland. From it emerges what apparently resembles something organic and alien, which impressively survives the impact. This strange, slimy form then begins to develop on the Earth's surface. In the heat of the flames, this bizarre tentacled form devours rock and after that seeks shelter. Hundreds of years later, during the Paleolithic period, humans are already present and have learned the basic functions of survival. A family group is waiting for their meal to be ready, when suddenly they hear noises coming from the dark interior of the cave, where they are taking refuge from the intense cold. The leader, courageously, stands up and ventures a bit inside to check. Suddenly, he is attacked by the life form from the beginning, this time more evolved and deadly, having spiny tentacles and an insatiable hunger, which results in the premature death of the entire family. The scene jumps to the year 1976, where a journalist and adventurous researcher is seen walking through a forest. After photographing animals, he comes across the entrance of a cave and, curiously, decides to enter to make new records. Inside the place, he sees cave paintings and also something slimy on the ceiling walls, as well as strange and recent marks, as if something had passed by crawling roughly. There are also tunnels and dark paths, but he does not follow them. He returns home and the next day retraces the route he drew in his diary. Inside the tunnel, the man begins to feel fearful when he finds human bones scattered around the place. He starts to hear something crawling among the rocks, and when he tries to illuminate the area for better observation, he is surprised by the monster that still lives and grows by feeding on its prey. After days of disappearance, investigative police officers arrive at the cave, and only traces of dried blood and some of the man's belongings are found there. 50 years later, a voice narrates that such a man was her grandfather, who disappeared without leaving traces. His absence marked the family and traumatized his mother, Alice. Today, Olivia is already an adult and seeks answers in the diary that Alice left before also disappearing. In it, her mother reveals that she tried to follow in her father's footsteps and set off toward the unknown, suspecting that there was something strange in the caves of the region, where she found only the diary. Her friend Annabelle, seeing that her friend is searching for answers about her parents' disappearance, asks her to invite friends to help her, but she feels hesitant. However, Olivia invites them, knowing that they were attentive and had already researched the region and a professor-researcher who could help them, since he had written an article about Olivia's grandfather. They are Ethan, Nick, Nellie, and Ruben. The group sets out to investigate a region with caves, where, according to stories passed down through generations, there is a legend that a monstrous creature exists, called the Bone Guardian. Along the way, they stop the vehicle to give a ride to a young woman named Ashley, known on the internet for traveling to various places doing random and fun things. She says she is searching for a castle that for many is haunted, but upon learning of the group's adventure, she decides to go with them. Inside the car, Olivia explains that the expedition is also to try to find something that helps her understand her parents' disappearance, which intrigues Ashley. Later, they arrive at the first stop. They get out of the car, take their equipment, backpacks and food, and head to a cabin located at a campsite intended for adventurers and situated near a village. While Ashley creates her content, Olivia reflects on what she really came to do in that region. She has memories from before her mother left and listens to an audio of her humming lullabies. Annabelle, her closest friend, approaches and comforts her once again, making her smile a little. Minutes later, while preparing the equipment, Nick and Ethan talk about their masculinity and that they will maintain a firm posture, not believing that any monster or bestial creature could exist in the forest and caves. Their friends appear and talk about a local bar where they can relax a bit and seek information about where the professor lives. They go there and upon entering are carefully observed by the locals. Nellie and Ruben notice on a mural newspaper clippings showing people who disappeared in the region without explanation and become worried. The owner of the place, Mrs. Mary, serves them and, curious, questions the group's presence there. Ethan asks for information about Professor Harrison, claiming that he can help and take them to the cave regions. Mary states that the professor would not want to do something so foolish. Ethan insists on the information, but Ruskin interrupts him, asking that the lady not be bothered. However, Mary says that it is fine, but warns Ethan and his group to stay away from the caves and to preserve their bones where they belong. Ethan realizes that the myth of the creature is believed by her and the other inhabitants, and this makes him ironic about the belief. Seeing the foolishness of the man in not believing the stories of his people, Ruskin states that this will be their last drink, so they should enjoy it. Annabelle interrupts them and tells about the main reason they are there, and states that the professor can help them. Knowing Olivia's story, Ruskin decides to help them and says where the man lives. Minutes later, the group arrives at the professor's residence and knocks on the door, calling him. Soon, Harrison appears carrying his weapon and says he cannot help anyone and asks the group to leave. He locks the door, but before returning to his quarters, he hears Olivia saying her last name, which makes Harrison remember her grandfather. With that, he agrees to receive the group. Sitting at the table, they hear the professor say that no matter their reasons for being there, they must not go to the caves, claiming that everyone who ventured into them stayed there. When questioned about what might be happening, the professor says he has his theories. Nick says he can tell, stating that he has great cameras to capture anything clearly in the caves and can prove if something is there. However, the professor says that in the end, if they go beyond the limits, only the recordings and equipment will remain at the bottom of the cave, where nothing leaves alive, stating that their corpses stay there and their bones will never be found. The group talks about the articles written by the professor, which for many are disregarded. With that, part of the group states that by going there, they can prove the reality of the facts, or confirm that everything is just a tale to scare people, but they need to know which cave they should go to. Nellie says she is excited and knows that together they will make it safely through the cave system. The professor becomes fearful, believing that if he speaks, he will only have more blood on his hands. At that moment, Olivia realizes that Harrison knew her mother, as she had passed by him. He laments the disappearance, but confesses that the woman was insistent in asking for directions. Reuben asks for the direction of the correct cave, and states that in the end he will bring images and photos to him, proving that the region has no monster, and if there is any danger, they are six and can protect themselves. Harrison remains silent, and at that moment, Olivia shows the diary, and inside it, a path drawn by her grandfather, always showing where he went. Being persistent, the younger ones make the professor agree. Harrison explains that the known and poorly mapped caves show that there are dozens of tunnels, and it is believed that they connect to each other. Before leaving, he decides to show the videotape he found at one of the cave entrances. In it, the grandfather recorded his route until entering the cave. Inside the place, something surprises him and attacks him brutally, ending the video. Ethan is skeptical about the abrupt ending, but Harrison, to end the disbelief of most, rewinds a bit and pauses at the exact moment when a monstrous creature appears. The image leaves everyone paralyzed, believing the professor's version that a monster inhabits the caves of the region. However, for Ethan, it may just be a distortion of the old camera recording. His words do not erase from the others' minds what may be the discovery of the century. Harrison, after his research, believes that there may be a creature that is not terrestrial, and that life forms can come in meteors that fall on the planet and traveled from another point in the galaxy to there. He also states that the origin of the monster in the caves may be alien, and adds that in the region very close to the caves there is a crater caused by a meteor thousands of years ago. Nick, together with Ethan, dismisses the professor's words and even insults him for believing in aliens. At that moment, furiously, Harrison shouts at them and then shows the scar he acquired in a brief moment that almost cost him his life when he was a child. He says that as a child he was playing in the forest near the cave entrance when he heard the sound of something crawling. Suddenly, something like a spiny tentacle attacked his leg, and luckily he used a piece of wood to escape. Without seeing the real size of the creature, Harrison ran without looking back, and since then he has sought to understand what he saw on that terrifying and inexplicable day. After all the explanations, the professor says where the entrance is located. At dawn the next day, the group enters the forest and heads to the cave entrance. They are amazed by the place, and before starting the adventure, prepare their equipment while Ashley records her content excited and carefree. Minutes later, the group carefully enters the cave and follows the narrow corridors, advancing to where Olivia's grandfather recorded his last moments of life. Unfortunately, in the place there are torn parts of Olivia's mother's dress, which makes her deeply fearful about the woman's tragic fate. On the walls, Ruben and Nellie admire a strange slime and take a small sample for later analysis. Being knowledgeable in the organic field and an excellent biologist, Ruben states that such an organism appears to be composed of non-polar hydrophobic molecules, something that does not survive in water and defies common explanations, which explains its survival there in that rocky region. Ruben looks at the sample under the microscope and realizes it is a living organism. Then he stores the organic material inside his backpack without discarding it outside. Next, the group continues entering the cave, but Ashley pauses to record more of her content. Thus, when she is alone, she hears noises like debris falling to the ground. Suddenly, when she looks up, she is paralyzed with intense fear. Immediately after, she is attacked by the tentacled creature and dragged into the depths of the cave. The creature, which is actually part of the Bone Guardian, resembles an octopus, but with the ferocity of a shark. The young woman's screams are not heard by the others, because in addition to already being far from her, the creature completely consumes her, showing that it partially merges with the victim's organism. Back with the group, they take a strategic pause. They observe that there are 2 corridors and think about which one to follow next. However, to save time, they split into 2 distinct groups. They question about Ashley, but say that she is adventurous and will soon find them. Wanting to show chivalry, Nick returns to look for her. The group follows their paths and finds even more slime, and in it a strong smell of rotten flesh. They move further ahead and find a tuft of hair that was torn from someone's head, and Ethan keeps it as disturbing evidence. Nick returns to the resting point but does not find her. He observes the surroundings and finds parts of a human jaw, something they had not seen before. He continues looking and notices blood traces on the walls, mixed with the viscous slime. Nick is shocked by the scene, and even more worried when he finds Ashley's phone. For a moment, he thinks it is a prank, but when he checks a noise behind the rocks, he is surprised by the creature, which this time has taken the form of a human head and uses its tentacles as a deadly weapon. The other pair, Ruben and Nellie, also find recent organic traces, which worries them, as they know there are human bones scattered there. Suddenly, the cave shakes intensely. Then behind Nellie, a large spiny tentacle appears, which behaves peacefully toward her for a strange moment. Impressed and curious, she approaches to touch it. Suddenly, tentacles emerge from the upper rocks and drag her to an inevitable death. Ruben runs in despair, unable to believe what he has just witnessed, while the others find parts of equipment left behind, covered in slime. They decide to continue, not knowing that their colleague is in extreme danger. Suddenly, Ruben is attacked by part of the Bone Guardian, which, through its spiny tentacles that suddenly emerge from the cave tunnels, wraps around him to end his life cruelly. His friends hear noise and stop to listen carefully. Soon, they realize it is a desperate call for help. They quickly enter another corridor, where further ahead they find their friend Ruben severely injured, who luckily managed to escape. When they look at the chamber they are in, they observe organic capsules above, which may be genetic offspring of the alpha creature in development. They walk trying to find an exit, but come across the alpha creature's chamber, what appears to be a nest, made almost entirely of organic material, such as human and animal bodies, victims hunted long ago. Ethan, now believing in the existence of a monster, takes photos as concrete proof. Suddenly, the creature appears and moves over them, and strangely fears the light emitted by their flashlights. Olivia notices this and tells them to direct the light if they see the monster, so they can drive it away. Then they move in another direction, searching for an exit, and end up finding part of Ashley's leg. Frightened, they continue hastily. They stop for a moment and hear a strange scream, but they do not know it is another part of the Bone Guardian moving, having already partially consumed Nick's body. Fortunately, they find an exit and begin climbing the slope to leave the cave with difficulty. Ethan waits a moment and records the organic aberration. After leaving, they notice that silent night is approaching. Ethan goes ahead in search of the equipment left outside the cave, while his friends stay with the weakened Reuben. Then, after delivering it to them, he runs to find a cell signal to call for urgent help. As soon as he succeeds, he calls Harrison, states that he was right all along, and says that the caves are, in fact, a large nest of a monster. Harrison asks for proof to send to the police so they can go with a rescue quickly. Ethan sends the photos and then returns to the friend's tent. Inside the tent, Olivia still considers returning to see if she can find something of her mother, but Annabelle tells her that her mother is gone. A few minutes later, Olivia draws her friend's attention, stating that something moves outside the tent, but one of them believes it is Ethan. However, it is one of the tentacles of the Great Bone Guardian. Things seem calm and without attack, but a loud sigh causes the creature to attack the tent. It pierces the plastic, grabs Reuben's body, and drags him away, this time to death. In panic, the friends run in fear, but Annabelle is grabbed against a tree. Luckily, Ethan arrives in time to help her. The moment becomes calm for a second. However, the Bone Guardian gives no respite. Unfortunately, Ethan is dragged into the cave. The friends run, but soon ahead they see colossal tentacles attached to the dense trees. They try to run, but smaller tentacles grab Annabelle and drag her into the cave. Hoping to find some friend alive, Olivia decides to return inside the cave. Meanwhile, Ethan is in front of the creature, and it devours him quickly without hesitation. At that moment, Harrison arrives with a team of soldiers, and they head to the cave, where they place explosives at several strategic points. Meanwhile, Olivia is inside and uses the light to drive the creature away. Then she reaches the nest chamber, where the large organic structure houses waste and remains of the monster's victims. There, she finds her mother's necklace and cries upon confirming the painful loss. Suddenly, the creature's tentacles attack her and drag her toward the main body. The monster watches her closely, entwining her body, showing that it will finish her. But luckily, the soldiers arrive and fire a burst of shots, which partially destroys part of the organic Bone Guardian, but the main body escapes. The rescue is then completed, and after all the living leave, the soldiers detonate the explosives, causing massive destruction in the cave terrain. The next scene shows Harrison talking to the defense minister, asking for a new armed expedition to hunt the living organism and put an end to the monstrous alien aberration, which will be analyzed and later accepted. Meanwhile, in the soldier's tent, after the others leave, Soldier Matthews notices Reuben's backpack moving. When he opens it, he is surprised by a small organism, which can be considered an offspring of the monster, showing the same ferocity as its terrifying creator.